Good morning guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be working on my 2011 Jeep Wrangler Sahara. All of that needs to go in there. Alright, so before we get started, I just want to give you a bit of history on this Jeep and how I came about having it. So I bought this car brand new in 2011 from the dealer. After purchase, you get this Jeep experience with the purchase, and so that allows you to basically go and do a 4x4 trail with an instructor and he takes you through the vehicle. I had no four-wheel drive experience before this car, so it was a nice experience. So from there we did our first trip to a place called Little Switzerland out in the Drakensberg. Yeah, so Little Switzerland is about 3.5 hours from where we stay. So anyhow, as we got there, it started bucketing down, and the reason they say you shouldn't try and drive there when it's raining is because the surface of the landscape becomes very caked up with clay. So to cut a very long story short, we got stuck on this hill. It was really sketchy. We had to call the owner. He brought out a whole bunch of oxen, and effectively the oxen pulled us pretty much up the hill and onto a flat section where we could just kind of idle to the log cabin that we were staying at. So that was our first real experience with a four-wheel drive, and it was interesting to say the least. But anyhow, from there we drove all over South Africa. We went to Inhambane in Mozambique for my 30th birthday. We went down to Port Elizabeth to the racetrack there, East London, the racetrack there. We did a whole trip to Port Elizabeth, then through the garden route, Knysna, Cape Town. We did Onrus, we did Cape Town a few times. We did the whole Botswana trip. That was an amazing trip. We did a lot of miles in Botswana. Effectively, I think it was about 5,000 to 6,000 kilometers round trip. And it was magnificent. So there's a lot of history to this vehicle, and it now has 144,000 kilometers on it. It was serviced under motor plan pretty much most of its life until the motor plan expired. After that we serviced it with the local guy, and this is effectively the first service that I'm going to be doing on the vehicle. Part of it is due to the COVID-19 situation, and then part of it is also due to the fact that I'd like to do it myself rather and get more involved with the vehicle, because I have a few planned mods that I want to do, and these are actually really, this particular one is the 3.8 V6, and they quite crude in terms of their engine gearbox design. However, that makes it really, really reliable. So it's a good vehicle. It's never really let us down. The shock absorbers we replaced at I think 60,000 kilometers. I managed to get an AEV 2.5-inch lift kit with the Bilstein shocks. And from the dealer I put on a bunch of accessories. I also put on this rear bumper, and yeah, anyhow, enjoy the video. So as I got started, I needed to basically make a sump or a catch tray that was going to be big enough to catch all the volume of the oils. So I basically took an old bucket that I had, cut it up, and that would work perfectly. I then loosened the sump plug, drained the oil, the engine oil, and then got on to changing the oil filter, which was completely loose, wasn't even tight. And so then I just took obviously the new filter, lubed it up, and made sure it went on there nice and snug. So normally with these, you just make sure it's hand tight. You tighten it as hard as you can with both hands, and then tighten up the sump plug and got onto the air filter. This is all fairly straightforward. Just have a look at the state of the air filter. It's always good just to check, see when last it was changed. This one looked fairly okay for the mileage, so I was quite happy with that. And yeah, just compare the old filter with the new filter. Obviously it's night and day difference. So these just click straight in, no problems at all. Did an inspection of the old oil just to make sure there wasn't any funny bits in the oil, and it was fine. And then I went ahead and just threw in all the new oil. There's about 5.7 liters of oil that must go into this car. Alright, the easy part is done, and now we're on to the tough stuff. I've got to take off that bottom tray underneath the gearbox. There is no drain plug on the gearbox, so you literally take the bolts out. You have to break the seal and pull the pan forward or somewhere and try and catch all the oil. 10 to 1 is going to be a giant mess. Then I've got to do both diffs and bleed the brakes. Yeah, we've got to test it and do all the good stuff, so let's get into it. So I have made quite the mess. It's pretty nasty. So on the gearbox side, I have removed the old filter, I have the new filter, I have this pan. Effectively, I have a lot of cleaning to do, so let's get to it. So after I got underneath, I decided I needed to clean this mess up, so I just got some old material I bought, and obviously paper, and just started going through the motions of cleaning up all of the oil. I then fitted the oil filter for the gearbox, just with the two multi-spline screws, bolts rather. I then cleaned off the excess silicone off of the face of the gearbox, got it ready for the sealer. Okay, so I've cleaned the oil pan for the gearbox. I've also cleaned the surfaces. Now I'm ready to clean the bottom of the gearbox, and I'm going to clean that, obviously clean all the oil off first, same as what I've done here. Then I will take some thinners, lacquer thinners or paint thinners, and then I'll clean each surface, the surface of the gearbox and then the surface of this pan, and then apply the silicone sealer to the surface. There is no gasket on this pan, or there was none, and then bolt it up. Once the gearbox sump was bolted up, I had to take another bash plate off to access the transfer case. So that was done, and then I first loosened the top up plug and then the drain plug on the transfer case. That is obviously to allow air to escape. And then I obviously just let the drain out. I cleaned up the plugs, put new PTFE tape on, and then effectively just tighten it up. Just note, when you're tightening these, it's a tapered thread, so you don't have to tighten it really tight. So the more keen-eyed viewers would say, oh, why are you using Castrol Simtrax oil in the transfer case? That's made for the diffs. That is correct, it is made for the diffs. However, in that bottle is not diff oil, it's actually the ATF fluid which is used in the transfer case. The reason I used it in that bottle was because the diff oil, the transfer case and ATF oil didn't have that filling tube system, so I just poured a whole bunch, cleaned that bottle, poured a whole bunch in there, and then used that to top up. I then got onto the front and rear diffs. It was fairly straightforward, just loosening both top and bottom plugs. Top plug is really to let the air through, bottom plug is to drain the oil. There was a little bit of sludge or something in the bottom of the oil, but guys, welcome back. It's the next day here. I managed to get everything done on the Jeep. We're going to take it for a test drive and see how it rides, and then we're going to give it a good clean because it's in dire need of a good clean. So we'll give it a good clean inside and out, and then she'll be done. Feels a lot smoother in its changes as well, so it obviously needed that. The gearbox oil didn't look great. I can't see in the service book when it was changed. According to what I can find online, it looks like it needs to be changed every 40,000 Ks, which means it should have had 3 changes already, but from our knowledge, since servicing the car outside of Motorplan, it hasn't had any changes. So I'm very glad I did that, because it feels much better. The changes are smoother, changing down and changing up. The car also just has a lot more torque at the bottom. It just feels like it battles a lot less, so I'm happy, man. that's a wrap, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'm so glad I managed to get everything done that I wanted to. In a nutshell, we changed the engine oil, oil filter, air filter, gearbox oil filter, transfer case oil, front diff and rear diff oils, and made the brakes. I didn't record that because it's very tedious. And I gave the car a really good clean. So I'm really happy with the result. The car drives a lot better now. The shifting is a lot smoother. It starts up, there's no funny rumbles, it pulls a lot better. So overall, I'm really happy. This is something you can do yourself. It's actually really easy-ish if you don't battle like I did with some of the stupid stuff. It's not that hard. The only thing now is getting the car reset so that it doesn't bring up the warning that we need to change the oil, or so effectively resetting the service interval. I've got a guy that's going to help me with that. But anyway, thank you so much. It was a great little journey. I plan on doing quite a few more things to the Jeep, so we'll see you next time. Ciao.